Why do people we helped in difficult times leave us? In this video, we will talk about helping, about rescuing, and how this affects the life of the helper and the life of the one being helped. First, the helper is always in a position of power. The person who helps is always in a position of superiority. Both the helper and the one being helped always feel this. When a person helps, let's say a rescuer, they feel better. After all, I helped when we do something good for someone. We elevate ourselves the person being helped feels. This difference, that is, perhaps the communication was on equal terms, people felt equal, whether it was friendship, colleagues, or some relatives, but people felt on the same level. At the moment when a person starts to offer help especially frequently, that is, when they see that someone else needs help and they are not asked for it, that is when a huge difference appears. And it is precisely then that relationships can begin to break down. This is how friendships, relationships with relatives, acquaintances, and anyone else can break down. Gradually, various negative feelings arise. This feeling of guilt, resentment, and hostility towards the one who has made them a debtor. For example, there was a situation where a person just came to you because they needed to vent. He didn't ask you to do anything for him. He was just talking about the problem. And then you started solving a specific problem for him, doing something for his life. Although, for example, there were no phrases about what someone would do for me. Perhaps the person just wanted to be heard and for you to believe in them so they could feel empowered to overcome a certain situation, but that didn't happen. You started to solve the situation for him, and that's why such feelings arise later. When there is a rupture in your relationship, it means that the person helping you has elevated themselves above you, and the helper often feels superior to the one they're helping. This rupture often destroys the relationship moving on. The discrepancy between expectations and reality. For example, a person is struggling right now and needs the strength to cope with a situation. They need someone who believes in them, that they will manage. So, what happens in the end? In the end, a rescuer emerges who solves all the problems. At this moment, a person's self-esteem drops because they realize that they are not resolving the situation on their own. A person wants to handle their difficulties by themselves. They want to solve their own problems. When a person goes through certain difficulties on their own, they realize that they are capable, that they are strong, and that they can handle it. And the situations in our lives, as we grow internally and mature, often intensify. It's like in school. In the first grade, the problems are very simple, but in 10th or 11th grade, we solve complex problems. It's exactly the same in life. If a person is not given the opportunity to go through their own lessons and face their own challenges, by saving them, they begin to lose faith in themselves. This discrepancy between expectations and reality often destroys friendships, where one person tries to save the other, and where one rises above the one who is close by. Furthermore, excessive help can lead to a decrease in self-esteem and dependency. It turns out that when a person who wants to help starts solving the problems in another person's life, and at that moment the person being helped begins to feel helpless, meaning they start to feel that they are unable to solve certain issues in their own life. Naturally, at that moment, the person's self-esteem collapses, and they become dependent on the one who is solving their problems. At some point, when a person realizes that they cannot solve any problems on their own, meaning they have already shifted the responsibility for their own life onto another person, that is when the desire to break free occurs, because that is what abusive relationships are. That is, if you are not personally asked to help resolve a specific situation, but someone simply comes and shares their story. At that moment, the person may only be seeking support. He needs to be believed in. You tell your friend, for example, "You can do it. You're strong. Look at how many situations you've faced and how you got through them. You solved them." This support is often needed by a person more than when you push them away from their own situation and try to fix something in their life. Nothing will come of it. You will only damage the relationship with the person you are trying to help. Moving on. Feelings of awkwardness, guilt, and shame. This is what a person being helped often experiences. If a person hasn't come to you and said, "Listen, help me. I can't handle this situation. I'm struggling. I'm in pain. Help me do something," then you can help, but you should not do more than 50% for that person. That is, in helping, you should assess the situation and your contribution, and you should do less than 50%. Everything else should be done by the person who is asking for help. Only then will the relationship, friendship, and communication be preserved. But when you take everything on yourself, for example, doing 90% and leaving 10% for the other person, or most often doing 100% by yourself, then a person will experience feelings of awkwardness, guilt, and shame towards you. And this will ultimately lead to the person starting to avoid you because of your help. This actually explains everything. Sometimes a person starts to get so involved in someone else's life instead of addressing their own problems. They intrude into areas that seem easier for them in order to feel a sense of control in certain situations, perhaps even to assert themselves. Often it is not stated, but the person who helps raises their self-esteem at the expense of another. All of this is felt. All of this is understood. And that is why communication breaks down and friendship falls apart. People who have been helped tend to avoid those who help them because there is always imbalance in the relationship, meaning one person is always above the other. Changing priorities is also something that can happen, for example, when you do good and bring goodness, and the person has already been grateful to you, but something has changed in their life. They may have developed a new social circle, new friends, or perhaps a new job, and communication starts to gradually fade away while you are still waiting for that same gratitude. But in order for help to be non-destructive, it should be given, and it is requested. That is the first thing. And the second point is to help without expecting gratitude. In other words, everything we do in our lives, we do it for ourselves. And you help, you're also doing it for yourself, to boost your self-esteem, improve your mood, and to feel better. And this is actually true. People often do not do something wholeheartedly to make another person happy. We always gain something, even when we give. So if you are doing something for another person, do not expect gratitude. Either do it for yourself or don't do it at all. Your help is taken for granted and you expect gratitude. So shift your focus. You helped and you felt happier because when we give something to this world, it is natural that we receive something in return. You helped, felt happier, and perhaps boosted your self-esteem for having accomplished yet another task. That is for gratitude. Don't expect people to thank you for what you did for the rest of your life. Everything in life changes. Life flows, and people's paths diverge and converge again. Therefore, when helping someone, there is no need to later judge them for being, for example, ungrateful. And finally, toxic relationships. In fact, where you are rescuing, it is always a toxic relationship. It's a rescuer-victim dynamic. If you do not want to enter into a toxic relationship, do not help unless you are asked. If you are asked for help, assist in a way that allows the person to feel empowered and understand that they accomplished most of what they did on their own. You were there supporting them and you gave them wings. This person will always be grateful to you when they realize that being with you makes them stronger. When he overcomes on his own, when he feels that he can. Not when your help has crushed him and, on the contrary, broken his wings, but when you have inspired the person next to you, when you have given him, he needed, given him faith. This is the very kind of immense help, for which gratitude is often not expected, yet it is precisely what is received. That's all I have regarding this video. This was me, Alice Vardomska. I hope for your likes and subscriptions. Please write in the comments what you would like to discuss in my new videos. Don't forget to hit the bell icon, and goodbye.